Namaste everyone. I welcome you to the lecture organized by VSC on Vedanta in daily life as preached by Swami Vivekananda by Revered Swami Samarpanananda of Ramakrishna Math Mission, Belur. The Vivekananda Study Circle, formerly VSC JNU New Delhi, was formed to study the works of Swami Vivekananda with the aim of molding our life based on the Vedantic truth of oneness that he preached. The first session was held on 1st November 2014. VSC is a non-political, non-profit body which is not affiliated to any organization. We usually meet online every Saturday to study the scriptures and the works of Swami Vivekananda. Previously, we have held many lectures by the revered Swamijis of Ramakrishna Mission and Matajis of Ramakrishna Mission and other scholars. Now, I hand over the mic to Namrata for Shanti Mantra. Namrata, over to you.
Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. May we all be protected. May we all be nourished. May we work together with great energy. May our intellect be sharpened. May our study be effective. Let there be no animosity amongst us. Om. Peace in me, peace in nature, peace in divine forces. Thank you. Over to you, Tanushridi.
Thank you, Namrata. Now I request Divya to please welcome and introduce Swamiji and start and moderate the session today. Before I hand over the mic to Divya, there are a few guidelines for the audience. Kindly switch off your camera and mic during the session. You can now write question during the session in the chat box, and we will try to get them addressed towards the end of the talk. Live questions will be taken up after the panelists have finished speaking. You can mail your valuable suggestion or feedbacks to us on vscjnu@gmail.com. You'll be able to view the recording of this session on our YouTube channel. The talk is also being streamed live on our Facebook page. Divya, over to you, please.
Thank you, Tanushree. Pranam Maharaj. We are privileged to welcome the revered Swami Samarpanananda ji to the Vivekananda Study Circle. Maharaj is an author, pen name Samarpan, and a monk of the Ramakrishna Math Mission, Belur. Since his joining the Ramakrishna Order, he has worked at various centers of the Ramakrishna Mission, namely Deoghar, Advaita Ashrama, Aalo, Arunachal Pradesh, Narendrapur, Kanpur, Chapra, Bihar. He was principal of Ramakrishna Mission, Vidyapith, Deoghar, and was the head of the Ramakrishna Mission, Chapra. He presently teaches ancient and modern scriptures at Ramakrishna Mission Vivekananda Educational and Research Institute, Belur. He has been invited as a guest lecturer at the IITs and the IIMs. His work experience ranges from teaching to management through a lot of other responsibilities. He is the author of a number of well-known books like Tiya, A Parrot's Journey Home, Param, The Hindu Way, Freedom to Oneness, and Kratu. He writes regularly for newspapers and journals like Prabuddha, Bharata, and Vedanta Kesari. Maharaj's talk today will focus on the practice of Vedanta in our daily lives as preached by Swami Vivekananda ji. This program commemorates Swamiji's birth anniversary, which fell on 12th January 2023. So once again, thank you for joining us today, Maharaj, and over to you.
Thank you so much. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Om Namah Shri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Sure Sachit Sukha Swarupaya Swami Tapaharine. So, with my most respectful and sincere pranams to ancient sages who gave us this grand philosophy of Vedanta, and to Swamiji, Swami Vivekananda, I begin my talk on Vedanta in daily life as preached by Swami Vivekananda. Sorry, excuse me. I have this problem of coughing. Now, before we get down to discussing what Swami Vivekananda told us about Vedanta and its practical utility and its application in daily life, its application for everyone, let us first see what exactly Vedanta is, and particularly because these days Vedanta has become too popular a word, and sometimes people keep on parroting around this word without understanding anything of it. Thousands of years ago, if you go back in history, now we really don't know how long back it was, how far back it was. We just know that, well, it was thousands of years ago. According to Swami Vivekananda, it was 8 to 10,000 years ago. And according to Marxist historians, it would be around 3,000, 3,500 years ago. So let's not get into the historical aspect because we are more into the spiritual aspect of the subject. So there was this race which was living on the banks of the Indus, and they were cultured because they refined their language, and they loved a quality life. They created things, most of which are lost. However, certain things have come down to us from the most ancient times from them. Now, these people call themselves Aryan to distinguish themselves from people who were not really cultured, whose language was not cultured, and whose habits, whose responsibilities were not cultured. Now, some of these people, these Aryans, they were by nature into introspection. Introspection is when the object of your thinking is your own mind. Instead of focusing on some object, instead of focusing on the world, instead of focusing on achievements, etc., you focus on the working of your mind. And then slowly, layer after layer, reality starts unraveling before you. The nature of reality. What is the truth behind the appearance that we have? So what they found, they left for posterity through their disciples, through their children. And we can say that that is the knowledge bank. It's a knowledge bank of the Aryan race. And don't confuse this Aryan with what Max Muller said or what Hitler said. Aryan simply means cultured, those who are cultured. It has nothing to do with complexion. It has nothing to do with race. It's just a habit. The opposite for Aryan is Anarya, one who is not cultured. A word we find frequently used in Valmiki's Ramayana, where even Sita says, Sri Rama, that why you are behaving like an Anarya. Or Sri Krishna tells Arjuna, don't behave like an Anarya. Anarya is one who is uncultured. That means one who has not yet picked up the finer habits. This knowledge bank came to be known as the Veda. And in the Veda, we find there are prayers to various gods. There are also truths about the ultimate of spiritual reality. And they are also discussing creation, the process of creation, nature of human beings. Lots of things are there. It's a huge subject. Now, the problem was what exactly these Vedas, which was later divided into 4 for various reasons. It's a different subject. Those of you who are interested, you can watch our talks on Indian Spiritual Heritage YouTube channel. There's one series known as Hinduism. And there in the beginning itself, we have discussed what is Veda. That's in English. And in Bengali, we have whole series of talks on the Veda. I think in 41 talks. If you are interested, you can watch them. Now later, it was found that what exactly these four Vedas in their thousands of verses were trying to teach. Shankaracharya gave us a very beautiful explanation. He says, Paramartham labhyate, by which you can attain God. But the thing is, the corpus is so huge that depending on what mindset you have, you can always find out some special meaning in it. And that's how, with time, great philosophers, great saints, they started working on the inner meaning of the Veda, and they came up with different philosophies. And these philosophies came to be known as orthodox philosophies, Astik Darshan. There are 6 in number. The most famous, the oldest, is Sankhya. And it's, you can say, twin is Yoga. And then there is Nyaya and Vaishesik. And there is Mimamsa and Vedanta. Vedanta is just one of the 6 systems of philosophies. Vedanta is described 2 different ways. One is Anta. The word is Anta. Anta means end. If you go strictly by Sanskrit, it means what's the end? That is, what's the aim of the Vedas? It's the Upanishads. And lastly, and secondly, the Upanishads come at the end of each of these 4 Vedas. So, because they come at the end, Ant, Sanskrit, so it's known as, Upanishads are known as the Vedanta. Now later, we had Gita. Gita is, you can say, the essential philosophy of the Upanishads. But Gita also incorporates in elements from the Vedas, the 4 Vedas. And then there was Vyas, who organized the Vedas, who wrote the Mahabharata, which contains Gita. And then he wrote very famous work, Brahma Sutra, in which he detailed the Vedanta philosophy. Now these 3 works, Upanishads, Gita, and Brahma Sutra, these 3 form the basis of Vedanta philosophy. That doesn't mean that there are not other books, but these 3 are the fundamental. Now, anyone who wants to write a new outlook on Vedanta, supposing I decide to write, I will have to show how these 3 works, Upanishads, Gita, and Brahma Sutra, are in consonance with what I am saying. So, Vedanta is the philosophy as preached in the Upanishads, in Gita, and Brahma Sutra. Technically, these 3 books are known as a Prasthantraya, the triad. Now, what exactly Vedanta teaches? Now, if we go by Vedanta, what exactly Vedanta wishes to teach us? Vedanta essentially teaches that the I, me, that's I-ness. The true I-ness lies beyond our body, mind, ego complex. And that is the ultimate truth. That's ultimate truth. Or if you go by some more popular Vedanta schools, Atman is more real than anything else. But according to Shankaracharya, who is Advaita Vedantin, Atman is the only essence, and why we shall see. And this Atman, it contains all power, all knowledge, etc., according to Advaita Vedanta. So, what is this world? How do you look at this world? Different people will look differently at it. I'm talking about Vedanta. But according to Advaita Vedanta actually means totality of all the Vedanta. So there is Vishishta Advaita Vedanta, there is Dvaita Vedanta, there is Shuddha Advaita. Advaita Vedanta gives us the complete picture as we find in Mandukya Karika. Those of you who are truly interested in understanding Vedanta, you can listen to my talks on Mandukya Karika. It's in English. It's a beautiful explanation. There we get a real picture of what Vedanta is. Now, According to Advaita Vedanta, God alone exists. Nothing else. There is nothing else. And whatever we are seeing, it's just an appearance. Shankaracharya gives very clear logic for it. And it's so logically sound that if a person doesn't get emotional, and it's very difficult for us not to get emotional. Like, for example, I belong to the Ramakrishna Mission, and to think that somehow, somewhere, me and Sri Ramakrishna, we are one and the same, it sounds like sacrilege. Emotionally, we get disturbed. But when it comes to hard logic, if you go by pure logic, well, then there is no scope. Everything has to be cut away. Those of you who are truly interested in understanding Vedanta, you should once read Inspired Talks of Swami Vivekananda. And we have talks on Inspired Talks 2 on YouTube by Swami Vivekananda. And it's fascinating. You don't have to listen to our talks. You can simply read the book Inspired Talks of Swami Vivekananda. It was delivered at Thousand Island Park in America. Now, when we look at Vedanta in comparison with other philosophies, we find that the materialists who are in India known as Charvak, for them, the 5 elements or the 4 elements or just simply the elements, that is the ultimate truth. Nothing exists outside that. Your body is that, your soul is that, there is nothing outside it. And then we just mentioned Nyaya and Vaishesik. In Vaishesik, we find that it says that soul or Atman is a definite entity. There is. So it doesn't subscribe to the materialistic views. It says it has the power of knowing and willing. Now, these ideas ultimately came to affect Vedanta too, but in different way. Then there is Mimamsa school, according to it. There is Atman, but it is slave to rituals, Vedic rituals. We just mentioned the importance of Veda and how the 4 Vedas have really regulated the lives of the Hindus. Vedas can be, the 4 Vedas can be broadly classified into 2. One is the ritualistic path. Now, it's not that they are asking you to be ritualistic. Thing is, yajnas were performed and those portions were used during yajna. And there are certain portions like Upanishads which cannot be used in yajna. And Acharya Shankar explains why these cannot be used in yajna. However, Mimamsa doesn't accept Upanishads as the ultimate truth. They say that Atman, that is you, me, anyone, self is there, Atman is there, but it has to obey the commands of the Vedic sacrifices. That means if you do good work, you will go to the heaven. And if you do bad work, you'll go to lower spaces. But what is the end? What's the ultimate thing? It goes on. There is no end to it. Now, that was pretty disturbing. How can something just go on? And somewhere it has to stop. But according to Mimamsa school, particularly early Mimamsa, there was no stopping. Then they came up with the idea of Brahmalok, where finally there is some kind of stopping, etc. And then we've come across Sankhya. Oh, there was some problem. So the bottom line is that different schools of philosophy, which were based on the Veda, and some of them were not based on the Veda, they saw Atman differently. But in Vedanta, when it comes to Vedanta, it made Atman the supreme being. And as far as Advaita Vedanta is concerned, it was not only supreme, it was the Lord, it was everything. But why? There's a very simple logic to it. Just a minute, excuse me. When do I have to finish? Because I might be getting longish.
There is no time limit, Maharaj.
Okay, fine. Now, when there is a creation, whenever there is a creation, the term used by the philosophers is actual transformation, and second is appearance. The technical term for these two are Satkaryavad and Parinam. Satkaryavad is Whole thing is there. It's already there. And in Satkaryavad, again, you have Parinamvad and Vivartavad. The transformation is real. And transformation is apparent. It appears. So, for example, the easiest way to understand is, those of you who have some knowledge about chemistry would know, physical change and chemical change. When there is a physical change, for example, when water becomes ice, it's a physical change. Its appearance is changing. But when water mixes with something and there is a chemical change, it has changed forever. Now, this problem of creation bogs every philosophy and every religion. God, if you go by whatever religion, be it Christianity, be it Islam, go by any other religion, the problem remains that God is defined and described as someone who is a conscious being. No religion will say that God is not a conscious being. And every religion, even though they may say that God is stern, God is just, somehow they will always say that God is also loving, because we are His created beings. Now the problem comes that, as far as our understanding concerns, this world, as we see, is inert. Now, how consciousness can give birth to something which is inert? The technical term is Jada and Chaitanya. Chaitanya is conscious and Jada is that which is inert. That means, how can matter come out of consciousness? The same problem we have in science when they are trying to explain today that mind is a product of matter. When they say, they are trying to say that mind is nothing but function of brain. Basically, you mean to say that mind, which is in some way or other, some form of consciousness, how can it be born of matter, which is inert? So we have these great scientists like Roger Penrose and all, and even the Buddhist scholars are getting into it without realizing that it's just not possible. It's simply not possible for matter to give birth to consciousness. These philosophers can go on talking, these scientists can go on talking, it's just not possible. But the same rule applies even to religions, and consciousness can never produce something which is inert, that is matter. Now, most religions bypass this problem by telling that it's God's will. Now, God being all-powerful, He can will anything. But when you say God's will, according to Swami Vivekananda, God's will simply means I don't have the answer. That means I don't have the answer, but I am trying to pass it off as something grand. God's will, God's will is the biggest fraud that has been perpetuated by religions of the humanity. You simply say, why can't you simply say that I don't have the answer? And Swamiji says, Hindus are honest. They say, I don't have the answer. Simply say, I don't have the answer. The problem is over. And there is a technical term for it. And that technical term is Maya. Maya is, I don't have the clear answer. Yes, it's a fact that whole thing appears as matter. The world appears as inert. It has come from God, but we don't have a very clear answer. But they have an explanation why it happens like that. Now, in this Satkaryavad, where there is creation, there's two. Parinamvad, which means actual. There is actual transformation. Now, this is accepted by schools of philosophies like Sankhya and Yoga. But Vedanta goes by Vivartavad, which means it's appearance. It's all appearance. Why? The example they use is pot and clay. When you look at clay and pot comes out of the clay. That means pot was always there. Now this problem, whether something was already present in it and it has been brought out by some process, is a very big philosophical question. Now we will not go very deep into it because it's a huge subject. Just two important points. Vedanta will say that if Parinamvad was true, that means if Vivartavad, that is mere appearance, like physical change. Now, if God and matter both be true, then God is not infinite. It's obvious. If God took some matter to create this world, it simply means that God is not infinite. There is something outside of God. This is a problem that Sankhya has and Yoga has. In America and all, Yoga has become extremely popular. And of course, they don't even pronounce it as Yoga. They say Yoga. Fortunately, Patanjali would have been horrified to know that there is something called Yoga. It's Yoga. And secondly, very important thing is, both Sankhya and Yoga philosophy are extremely flawed because, as we am talking about philosophy, not the yoga exercises. Flawed because there are two realities. One is Atman, which is consciousness, and there is matter. Matter is real, it's known as Prakriti. That creates many serious problems, but of course, they have their answer. Now, if a part of God is matter, well, Ramanuja believes that, Vishishtadvaita believes that, then God has materialistic parts. No, this is absurd. No, sir. No, from Jeffrey, no. Yoga is the correct. Like, we don't say karma yoga, we say karma yoga. Yoga is not Hindi. Yoga is fully. I've checked it many times. So now, part is consciousness and part is matter. It's absurd. And Vishishtadvaita will simply say that God is all powerful and it's all mystery of God. Now, if creation is whole of God, then sometimes people come up with these ideas, then there is no God left. So these are the major objections of Advaita Vedanta against the popular belief that we have. What Acharya Shankara says, and which is very logical. See, it's a different matter whether I agree with him or not, whether you agree with him or not. He gives hard and cold logic. Says, here is this pen, and this is my favorite example. If you go and watch my videos, you'll find very often I'm using this pen as an example. It says, whenever I perceive this pen, there are two ideas involved. One is the idea of this pen. Yes. One is this pen. And second is the idea of isness. The pen is. Because if this pen be destroyed, supposing, even then, the idea of isness will be there, say, in this microphone. And if all the objects be destroyed, even then this isness continues, because isness is independent of the object. And ultimately, what remains if all the objects are gone? That is known as Sat, existence, pure existence. This we can understand by a very simple analogy of particle physics. If you take the example of physics, although they say that what happened in the first few seconds of creation, we don't know. But this is very clear that if the whole of matter was to be pushed back to its origin, then only energy will remain. As Einstein said, E equal to mc square. So essentially, whatever matter we are seeing is just some kind of play of energy, some kind of wave on energy. I'm just giving an analogy. Don't go deeper into it. That means when matter is pushed back, ultimately energy remains. Shankaracharya, well, in his time, there was no E equal to mc square, but he knew that if you start pushing things, if you push things too much, ultimately what remains is isness, pure existence. Now, putting things in a very simple way, we are aware of something which reveals itself to us, even when there is some kind of imagination or some real thing. Like, for example, there are people who see ghosts. There's some kind of reveal, or mind has the power to grasp reality, which is there, even if that be imaginary. Now, since there is nothing else left, that Sat has to be one with Chit. Now, this argument is slightly subtle. I am trying to hurry through things, so maybe I may not sound that logical, but at the same time, I'm definitely not sounding illogical. And you find joy and bliss only in what you know. And since there is nothing else to be known other than pure existence, so he says that this pure existence is consciousness, and this consciousness is bliss. So he says that Sat Chit Ananda, Satchidananda is the only truth that exists. Now, when it comes to Ramanuja, who is the most famous and most popular of philosophers in India, and he has been a very great influence in Hindu religion, of course, and there is Madhvacharya. So according to Ramanuja, this Satchit Ananda, these three are qualities of God. These three are qualities of God, and they shouldn't be mixed up with the idea that these three are one and the same. Thing is, we should not be going into all this controversy. There is a very simple thing. If we try to understand the entire process through the principle of Raj Yoga, that is Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, when you start meditating, the first thing that you realize is that your mind is turbulent. Your mind is highly active. And the term used in yoga for this is vritti, chitta vritti. Mind is continuously getting transformed. It's like a lake which is full of waves and wavelets. As you start meditating, number of waves start decreasing. And finally, a state comes where there is only one wave, the wave on which you have been thinking. A person, for example, now, when you are into that deep meditation mode, for example, my Ishta is Sri Ramakrishna. And when I meditate on Sri Ramakrishna, I try to overlook at every other wave that's coming in my mind. That means every other thought that's coming in my mind. So ultimately, only one thought will remain, and that is the thought of Sri Ramakrishna. So Sri Ramakrishna becomes the ultimate truth for me, once and for all, forever. This we understand the best by studying the biography of the life of Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna was doing sadhana of Mother Kali, and ultimately he had the vision of Mother Kali. It was in the form of consciousness in which there was some kind of appearance about which we don't know much and we don't understand much, but we know one thing, that he talked only about Mother Kali after that and throughout his life. And when Totapuri, the great Vedantist, came and felt that Sri Ramakrishna was a fit candidate for Advaita philosophy, realization of Advaita, he taught him Advaita. And this is very, very, very interesting that when Sri Ramakrishna wanted to merge his mind into the absolute, Mother Kali came and stood before him face to face, as if she was blocking the door to Sri Ramakrishna's merging with the absolute. And he was not able to do it. When Totapuri, he took a piece of glass and pierced between the two eyebrows. And then when Mother Kali appeared again, Sri Ramakrishna describes that he took up the sword of knowledge, that means oneness, and cut Mother Kali into two, whatever that might mean, because I have not experienced. Naturally, I cannot describe beyond this. I have studied. I can understand it with the help of my mind and from the words of my teachers. But that is absolutely logical and rational if you try to understand it through Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. The technical term for that is Savikalpa Samadhi and Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Now, the moment you go for this Savikalpa, where the relative is true, where God is true, as Sri Ramanuja told us, perfectly all right. There's nothing wrong with it. It's the lesser minds who have tried to create a conflict between Advaita and Vishishta Advaita. Now, that's not our subject. I am not even a master of that. I understand Advaita only. So I'm not even a student of Ramanuja school of thought. We are just focusing on Advaita, because According to Sri Ramakrishna, there is absolutely no difference between Vishishta Advaita or Dvaita and Advaita. These are just different aspects of the reality, different facets of reality. Obviously, the thing is, if your I-ness continues, initially we said Atman has I. If your sense of ego continues, if I continues, then you will always see the supreme reality, the Atman, the Satchidananda as God. And you will see yourself related to that God. Such a simple thing. But if somehow that ego merges, I merges by God's will or by your effort or by whatever means, then what remains? What remains cannot be described because there is no one to describe that. Sri Ramakrishna uses the example of 10 pots. Narendranath, Swami Vivekananda, who was to be later, supposing there are 10 pots and there's the sun and there's the reflection. How many sun you see? 11. And then you keep on breaking. Ultimately, one pot remains. How many sun you see? He said 2. And then you break the last pot. What remains? And Naren says 1. Sri Ramakrishna says no. What remains cannot be uttered by mouth. Advaita Vedanta, the real Vedanta, it's not about one. Very often people confuse Advaita with one. No, Advaita is not about one. Advaita is not zero. Sometimes Vishishta Advaitins, they have criticized Advaita as being similar to Buddhism. No, we are not. It's neither one, nor two, nor zero. Advaita means God alone exists. That's the truth. What is this world then? This world is God. It's nothing other than God. It appears as matter. Actually, it is pure consciousness. Now, the thing is it possible? Yes. Swami Vivekananda himself had that kind of vision. Like once he was making fun of Sri Ramakrishna about all these things and he said, see, this plate is consciousness and this glass is consciousness. And then Sri Ramakrishna touched him and for the next 3 days, he was seeing everything as pure consciousness. And just to make sure that it was not some kind of illusion, he went to Hedua Park, which was near his home. It's near Swami Vivekananda's ancestral house. He banged his head against the iron railings. And his head got hurt. So matter was there, and yet Swami Vivekananda was seeing the whole thing as pure consciousness. Well, this is in brief the idea about what Vedanta is. Because Vedanta takes Vishishta Dvaita and Dvaita and every other form, and whatever you say, everything is accommodated in Advaita. How? If there is the dividing line of mind, then reality appears in one way. And if the dividing line of mind goes away, then reality appears in entirely different way. When we are discussing Swami Vivekananda and Vedanta, when we discuss Sri Ramakrishna and Vedanta, we discuss the implications of the second type. That means when the mind merges, when there is no duality left, when there is no dividing line left, the reality that is there, that reality now projects as the universe. So what are its implications and how these things can be applied in daily life? This is what we are going to discuss. And I have spoken for 45 minutes. I give you a break. Please ask me questions, please, based on what I have discussed. Now, do not get into argument because we don't have time. And it's getting late and naturally I'll get tired. If you have any question which you think, please remember, we are not getting into what from Shubhadeep Patra. What I'll suggest, Shubhadeep Patra, you can listen to my first talk on Mandukya Karika, where I have discussed Vedanta. There I have given some detail. If you read any philosophy on Shankaracharya, there you will find that since there is only existence and that existence is self-revealing, because it's self-revealing. And because it's self-revealing, so that has to be consciousness, because consciousness means it has the power to reveal. And the bliss as experienced through 3 states of waking, sleep, and dreamless, we find that there is some kind of bliss and there is nothing else other than existence. So existence, knowledge, and bliss, they have to be one and the same. It's a huge topic. It's a huge topic, and naturally, Vishishta Dvaita will not agree to that, and Dvaita will not also agree with that. Other religions will not agree with that, but Acharya Shankar is firm in his arguments, and one of the finest arguments that I have ever seen in my life is this, as used by Shankara. Well, why argue? The simple thing is, Sri Ramakrishna has seen it, experienced it, and has said, what is the origin of matter? Now, this is Shubhadeep Patra. Looks like you are deeply interested in it. I'll strongly suggest you to listen to our Mandukya Karika talk. First thing is, Shubhadeep has been asking quite a few questions. First thing is, if you go by Vedanta, then matter is just an appearance of pure consciousness. It doesn't have a reality of its own, as in Sankhya and Yoga. So where is the origin of matter? God's will, Maya. And then we find that Vedanta becomes pretty similar to what other religions also say. And in Gita, we come across this famous shlok where Lord Krishna says that my higher nature is Atman, soul, Jeev, and my lower nature is this Prakriti. So remember, Advaita Vedanta doesn't deny matter. What it says that matter does not have an independent existence, as say in Sankhya and Yoga, or as say in any dualistic religion. Just this has to be kept in mind. I won't say that this pain doesn't exist. Shunyavad may talk about it, Buddhists may talk about it, not Vedanta. Vedanta very much says that this pain is true, but it does not have an independent existence. So you cannot say that Atman is true and matter is also true, as a Sankhya and Yoga will say for Prakriti and Purush. That's the difference. What's the origin of matter? Well, when Satchidananda wills that let there be creation, question is, why does he will? Mandukya Karika puts it beautifully. Apta kamasya kas priha. Apta kamasya kas priha. Person who is apta, one who is fulfilled with his desires, why should he will to desire? So they will say that desire to create. Because when you create, you have to have some kind of desire. Why should God have any desire? After all, he is self-fulfilled. Now that is something for which we have no answer. No one has any answer. So Mandukya Karika, which is the ultimate of Advaita Vedanta, says that creation, as you see, does not have any reality. It's God appearing as creation. Those of you who have some knowledge of physics, you will know that there is triple point in physics. Triple point is a particular state of temperature and pressure in which you have water, ice, and steam, vapor existing simultaneously. So it's something like that. It's consciousness, it's matter, it's mind, all three existing together. They appear different, but actually they are not different. Yes, somebody asked about New Testament and Vedanta. Somebody, could you please raise your question once again? That's one of very fascinating question. Somebody.
Pranam Maharaj. I asked the question. My name is Sudeep. So my question is, it seems that the New Testament and Vedanta are completely saying the same thing.
Well, look here, I'm not really a student of New Testament, but New Testament is an extremely fascinating book. Now, fascinating book does not make fascinating philosophy. Remember, don't forget it. Simply because New Testament is quite similar to Vedanta, that doesn't make Christianity similar to Vedanta. Don't mistake it. And this is what we are going to discuss now. How Vedanta is different from every other religion and every other applied system of philosophy. So New Testament may be speaking of something which sounds like Vedanta. Buddhists may be talking about something that sounds similar to Vedanta, but they are not. Because major difference lies in those systems being exclusive. Vedanta is inclusive. Vedanta says every system of thought is correct because people have different level of understanding. People have different level of mind. So when they look at the ultimate reality, the supreme reality, what you see will be different. For example, supposing you go to visit the Himalayas in India, Alps, in Europe, you are staying in a room and you are living in different rooms with windows and openings. Your perception of the snowy mountains will be different depending on where you are staying. But if you come out in open, your perception will be different. Now, will you say that the person who has been looking at the mountains and getting a particular kind of vision is wrong? No, it's not. It's perfectly all right. So it's that. So Vedanta and our New Testament, they cannot be compared. Anand Verma, please. Now, we cannot go into meditating existence. My good Arpita Mitra, she asked me to talk about practical application. So let me focus on practical application. And I'm available on social media. I'm pretty active on social media. You'll find me everywhere. You can contact me. We shall see. But remember, meditation on Vedanta is the most difficult thing. Most difficult thing. It's impossible. What Ramakrishna Mission monks do is, we have an Ishta, Sri Ramakrishna. We get that mantra. We repeat everyone in the Ramakrishna Mission, and it's through the grace of this Sakar Ishwar, God, who manifests the body form as an incarnation. We take his help to become one with the absolute. There's nothing wrong with this, fully logical, nothing wrong with it. But if you talk about some kind of meditation practiced by some monks in Himalayas who talk only about watching their mind and neti, etc. No, we don't do it. And those who do it, you will have to talk to them. I'm not a great fan of that. So may I continue, Arpita? Or Divya Nair is comparing. Divya, are you able to understand my pronunciation? Because your pronunciation is so American and mine is...
No, I perfectly.
Because from your standpoint, I will be slightly thick accented. So.
No. My parents,
Oh, yes, they must have. Okay. So now, what is the change in philosophical outlook when you go for Vedanta and as taught by Swami Vivekananda? First, all philosophies are correct in their own way. In their own way. That doesn't mean that they are all same. This is a major confusion created by some people who probably did not understand things fully. Sri Ramakrishna never says that all religions are true in the sense that they are all valid. No. Vedanta takes you to oneness. Other systems do not take you to oneness. But nothing wrong with it, because when you say that he is a student, now a girl who is studying in class 2 is a student. Similarly, a lady and a gentleman who is doing a PhD, he's also a student. She is also a student. Now, simply saying that he or she is a student, that doesn't mean that a class 2 student and a PhD student, they are same. No, they are not. So how Vedanta changes your outlook? Well, let's see. First thing is, it becomes highly inclusive. It doesn't say that if you don't believe in Vedanta, then some seat is booked for you in the hell. No, it doesn't. It says perfectly. You're absolutely correct. Till you are leading a good life, till you are leading a noble life, you will have your journey accordingly. And God willing, someday you will realize what to do and nothing. Good. You're right you're perfectly right in your understanding, and I am perfectly right in your understanding. Only that I understand what you are doing, but you don't understand what I am doing. Then similarly, every religion becomes valid. Every God becomes valid. You cannot say that this God is true and that is not true. You cannot say that Shiva is true and Ram is not true, nor can you say that Vishnu is true and Shiva is not true. And you will find that in South India, this has been a very big problem. The fight between Shaivis and Vaishnavis. No, this is not Vedanta. This is not Hinduism. No, it's not. And simplest and the most profound and extremely unnerving. You are the good and you are the bad of the universe because you alone exist. Vedanta as preached by the Upanishads, Vedanta as preached in Gita, Vedanta as preached and as perceived by Sri Ramakrishna and Swami Vivekananda shows that you alone exist, no one else exists. And the good that you see, the bad that you see, it's all you. You are Jesus the Christ and you are Judas Iscariot. This can be unnerving. Vedanta is not for all. And you have to begin with this. It's not the ultimate. So you have to keep in, like the gentleman who asked me just now, how do I practice Vedanta meditation? You have to begin with this. You have to start telling yourself that whatever is good in this world, it's you. And whatever is bad in this world, it's you. It's extremely disturbing, so difficult. And coming to Swami Vivekananda, most important thing he talks about Vedanta is the quotation that you all know, each soul is potentially divine. Everyone is potentially divine. And the goal is to manifest the divinity within. Now, how you are doing it, through which path you are doing, through which religion, through which philosophy you are doing, it's your concern. So each path is correct in its own way. Each religion is correct in its own way. And every god and goddess is correct in its own way. But for you, the important thing is to be divine because you are divine. Each soul is potentially divine. It's not manifested. Your divinity is not yet manifested. It's covered. And this covering has to be removed. Swami says, Om, the one without. Second, he is in me, I in him. This is the ultimate ideal. This is the ultimate goal. This is where we have to go. This is what we have to practice. This is what we have to practice all the time. That I need to be divine. I need to be divine. So, like our Sudeep was asking about matter and consciousness. Swamiji doesn't believe in matter. For example, you might have heard of education is the manifestation of the perfection already in man. But he also said that religion is the manifestation of the perfection in every being. What is religion? Religion is the manifestation of the perfection already existing in every being. So religion doesn't come from outside. Religion comes from inside. Religion is divinity already existing in man and evolution. Evolution, when it comes to evolution, which was given by Charles Darwin, says perfection, which is already in every being. So when we evolve, when the species evolves, when the gene is evolving, the perfection is already there. It's not coming from outside. Now, if you talk to persons like Richard Dawkins, who will be talking about all this gene going this way, that way, I tried reading his book and I found it pathetic. That's the only word, because we are established in Vedanta. We know these to be true. How can you get rid of? How can you just say? How can you just laugh all these things away? This is what happens when you live in a small hole. You're living in a particular system and you think that your system is all right. We never talk like that. We know that we have this system, and in this system, everyone is permitted and we are inclusive about it. So we don't have any quarrel with anybody. We don't criticize anyone. Evolution is very much true. But what we say that when something is evolving, it's not because of chance. It's not because of competition, but it is because it's already within you and it's just manifesting. Similarly, civilization. Now, civilization is something we know that there are certain societies which are more civilized. What is that? It's a manifestation of that divinity in man. How do we say, like when I started, I said Aryan. Who is an Aryan? Who has manifested the divinity that is within him in a greater percentage, greater amount. So what is the goal, as we mentioned that? Yes, of course, from Sudipta Patra, Sudipta Shubhadeep Patra. I don't know why are you asking so many questions. See, read some books. Like, see, question, you can ask a question when you have some preparation for it. It's my favorite thing. You need to study. Like when you are listening to some talk, you shouldn't be interrupting the speaker, because it's not a good habit. It's a very bad practice. And to ask something, you should have some preparation for that. Now, when you pick up something from here, you pick up something from that book, you pick up from something from that speaker, that gives a, whole thing is a medley, total confusion there. No, that's not how it goes. Just listen. And I can tell you something, that I have more than 4 decades of study behind what I'm speaking. And scores of teachers I have checked and counter-checked. So what I'm saying is not something out of the blue. Yes, every soul is individual till there is a covering of mind. And mind is very much real till you have the sense of I-ness. That is why Acharya Shankara talks about 2 different realities. Reality that is at the relative plane. Swamiji repeatedly talks about relative and the absolute. At the level of the absolute, there is pure oneness, as we mentioned when Sri Ramakrishna pierced Mother Kali. That means he pierced the boundary that was there on the mind. Once you pierce that, for example, it's like gaining escape velocity, and you pierce the wall that's created by the gravity, and you just go beyond, just like that. So I shouldn't be asking so many, at least listen. And you should be reading some basic books. And if you want to understand Vedanta, as I said, listen to Mandukya Karika. So Swami says, goal of mankind is knowledge. This knowledge is already within us. However, it's covered by ignorance. It's covered by ignorance. Ignorance what? Vedanta says that for some strange reason, when there was this creation, and from being full of knowledge, we started feeling that I'm incomplete. And because I felt I'm incomplete, I wanted to be complete, and there was desire. And because there was desire, we wanted to work, because to fulfill any desire, you need to work. This is beautifully said, avidya kam karma. Where from this avidya comes? Well, we don't know where from this avidya comes. Avidya is there. It's a matter of fact. Shankaracharya says it's a statement of fact. Swami Vivekananda says it's a statement of fact. Now, something which is a statement of fact, why should I need to prove it? Well, it's there. And because it is there, we feel ourselves to be incomplete. We feel ourselves to be ignorant. We feel ourselves to be lacking in strength. And so we have to work towards it. And that's why so many Indians are running to America to gain some knowledge and to get some degrees from the universities, because they feel that they lack knowledge. And what's the ultimate of that knowledge? Says to emancipate myself from earthly ties and attachments, so that there will be no rebirth from me. The idea is, when we are under the spell of avidya, we keep on moving blindfolded, as if blindfold is not on the eyes but on the mind. We keep on moving blindfolded, and we keep on moving from birth to birth, because we are in this birth, we feel that the birth is the beginning and death is the end. But sages who have seen things, they know that no, it continues. It's a huge chain, and we are looking only at a small link. So that's what it says. we need to struggle to get out of it. So what is the value of this life? This is one of my extremely favorite sayings of Swami Vivekananda. In one of my books, Param, it's on the front page, on the cover itself. This life is a great chance. I tell you, this life is a great chance because Vedanta believes in rebirth till the time you know your real nature. Unless you know your real nature, this punarapi janvani, punarapi maranam, your birth and death, the cycle of birth and death will continue, as emphasized even by Lord Buddha. Says, what seekest thou the pleasures of the world? Why do you seek? Why do you seek the pleasures of the world? He is the fountain of all bliss, the God. Seek for the highest, aim at that highest, and you shall reach the highest. This life is a great chance. Don't waste even a minute of your life. If you are studying, go all out, study. But the goal has to be to pierce the wheel of Maya. And then, because we are having a talk on how Swamiji looks at Vedanta and how makes it practical for us, Swamiji says, pleasure and pain, good and bad, are the great teachers in life. Actually, pain is the greatest teacher. A pleasure is a resting place. If we keep on getting pain all the time, we will be shattered like glass. So our karma brings some amount of happiness, some amount of pleasure, so that we take some rest and then we start our journey. And our journey is mostly through pain, so that finally we may attain mukti. Life like an hourglass, where it draws everything and then throws it out. This is what life is. Then Swamiji focuses on importance of these smaller things in life. Very often we go so much for the big things, bigger things, meditation and Vedanta, and we let go of the smaller things in life. So he says, every fool may become a hero at one time or another. Watch a man do his most common actions. How you comb your hair, how you dress, how you appear, and how you treat the underprivileged. These things show who you are and whether or not you are on spiritual path. A person who is on the path to spirituality, he keeps his room spick and span. His everything is spick and span. And every spiritual person, I have personally seen persons like Srimad Swami Ranganathananji Maharaj, Gambirananji Maharaj, and Lokeshwaranji Maharaj, how meticulous they were about the smallest things of life. And Swamiji says that you need to feel free all the time. Never be in bondage. Never keep anyone in bondage. And when you work, you should work like a free person. Those of you who might have read Mark Twain, might have read the famous story of Tom Sawyer whitewashing a fence. So Tom Sawyer is punished to whitewash the fence and he finds it so difficult. And then he finds his friends coming and then he starts posing as if he's enjoying it and it's fun, it's play. And then all his friends join that. And when you work in freedom, you enjoy. When you work in bondage, you suffer. Karma Yoga means working in freedom. But the moment you say that I have to attain this, I have to do this, people say that very often when I talk to students, they say, how can I work if I don't have a motive? Well, when you have a motive, you are working like a slave. And when you do your duty because you love doing it, because you have to do it, you're working in freedom. And that's when results come. No one has ever achieved greatness by working with a motive. Only people who worked, who did something as a way of their duty, as a way of their life, they are the greats. Sri Rama did that. Sri Krishna did that. and says, be cheated millions of times and never ask a question. Because you love helping others. Because you love helping others, so you will be cheated. So why? How does it matter? Simply because you have been cheated, you will say that, no, I am not going to love anybody anymore. No, no, no. It's in your nature. It is in your nature to love people. So your heart has to be broad. And this comes straight from Vedanta, because the person who is cheating you is you yourself. He is not part of your personality. He is not related to you. It's you. That's what Advaita Vedanta says. I mean, these things can be unnerving, so difficult. You are the snake, you are the scorpion, you are the tiger, you are the lion. And you are the saint, you are the sinner. Oh God, I tell you. Swamiji says that all outgoing energy following selfish motive is frittered away. Whenever there is a selfish motive, whenever you say that I have a goal to achieve, know that your energies will now be frittered away. Because Vedanta means to be. Vedanta doesn't mean to become. To be means I am what I am. And I will be what I am. So I don't have to become anything. The moment you plan to become something, that will be through some kind of action. And that action, when there is some kind of selfish motive, there is some kind of motive, your energies will be drained away. And you will be surprised to see how much energy we lose every day simply by keeping an end result for us, simply by keeping a motive in front of us. So true detachment comes when one knows that the world is not dependent on him. The world will go on. Sri Rama came and he went away. So what happened? The world continues to be what it is. Jesus came and Sri Krishna came. And what happened? Well, some people took to good life, but the robbers continued, the cheats continued, the murderers continued, and Hitler continued. Nothing changed. And Hitler was doing all that in the name of Jesus Christ, who was a peace-loving person who taught peace. The world is not dependent on you. The incarnation of the greatest, when God comes himself in this world to set things right, he might do a bit, but the world goes back to its own ways. And if you keep on reminding yourself that the world does not depend on you, your parents do not depend on you, your children do not depend on you, and you yourself do not depend on you. You have to be yourself. Just be yourself, nothing else. And then you will see how you grow. This is true Vedanta. Talks about self-control, mental energy. Says, nothing in the universe has power over you until you allow it to exercise such a power. This is straight from Vedanta. Straight from Vedanta. We have allowed our lower nature, which is matter, to overpower us, and we feel that I have a body, and we feel that we have a mind, and we are trapped in this circle of body and mind. Those of you might have read my book Tiya, which was highly appreciated by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. One of the first finest sentences is that Tiya is trapped on this earth, and Tiya feels, oh, what a strange place to be. Hunger creates body, and body creates hunger. It's a vicious cycle. You eat, body is created. And since body is there, it will create hunger. So, all this is, we somehow believe that I have a body and I have a mind, and we get more and more trapped, and we try to make our body happy, we try to make our mind happy, and we get more trapped. And why we are trapped? Because we let ourselves to be trapped in it. Freedom is not only the goal, freedom is the reality. We are running away from reality. Sometimes people say that you monks, you are running away from reality. No friends, no sister, no brother. You people are running away from reality. You are not realizing that you are Atman. You think that you are a body and you are running after body. You are running away from reality, not us. So, and why you are running away? Because you are allowing yourself. You are allowing, for example, Now we have this corona. Our immune system is weak, and our doctors are saying that those who have a weak immune system, they will be suffering from corona. But those whose immune system are extremely strong, and that's how this vaccine, etc., has come. We allow the virus and the bacteria to enter us and to wreak havoc on our system. Similarly, this world, we allow it to overpower us, and that's how we suffer. Just tell yourself that, no, I will not be under anyone's bondage, and you are free. You are inviting trouble. Fear, Swami says, Atman, I am Atman. I have all the power. I have all the knowledge. Then why I am behaving like an ignorant person? Because I brought it upon myself. Words, why I am scared? What I am scared of? Am I scared of disease? Am I scared of death? Yes. Why? Because I have forgotten my nature. If I am established in my nature, will the fear of death affect me? Will the fear of death of my near and dear ones affect me? No. And that's why Swami says, fear is a sign of weakness. Fear is a sign of ignorance. Get out of fear. Says, if the moment you fear, you are nobody. Because fear squeezes you. You are pure Atman. You are everywhere. You have all knowledge. You have all power. And emotions squeeze you. Fear is the most powerful emotion that squeezes us. And as for duty, our only duty is to encourage everyone in his struggle to live up to his highest ideal, his or her highest ideal. We have no duty whatsoever. This is from Swami Vivekananda. And now I'll just end with a beautiful story which I have always loved. When Swami Vivekananda was in America, for his work, he came down to London, and from there he had gone to Paris, where he was guest of Duchess de Pomar, whatever French pronunciation. Now, Swamiji was once traveling by a coach with this lady, who was a very influential lady. And the coach had entered one of those remote areas. It was a village. And suddenly one young boy and young girl came out with a lady who was some kind of governess. And this coachman got down and kissed them, the kids. And then came back, started the coach. And this lady, de Pomar, says, why did you kiss them? Aren't they children of some nobleman? No, Paris has bigger problem with noble persons and proletariat, etc. And we Indians are criticized for all this. So then the coachman said that earlier he was manager of a huge bank and the bank failed. So whatever he could save, he invested in this coach, purchased this coach, and he wanted that his children should grow well. So they live in outskirts and he drives this coach. Swamiji says, this is what I call practical Vedanta. Swamiji was so impressed. This is what I call practical Vedanta. This man has understood the essence of Vedanta. Falling from such a high state to this low condition, he is nonetheless unmoved. Thank God for such power of mind. This man is really a Vedantist. Once I was teaching at Indian Institute of Management in Deoghar, and there was this talk about Karma Yoga. And then I told that, look, Karma Yoga means today, if by virtue of your earning and position you are driving a Rolls Royce, so be it. And tomorrow if you come down, your position goes away, you don't have much money, and you have to drive a very ordinary car. Your mind must not be perturbed. You should be as happy as driving an ordinary car than a luxury car. Equanimity of mind is yoga. But why should we practice equanimity of mind? Because we are full, we are complete, We have nothing to attain. If at all we have to attain something, it's my nature. It's my nature, which is freedom, which is fullness, which is all knowledge, which is all power. Well, in short, that is what Swami Vivekananda was teaching us. And that was a very short overview of Vedanta and practical aspects of Vedanta and what Swamiji taught us as far as Vedanta is concerned. Thank you so much. In case you have some question, and those questions must be, pretty important. So please ask. I'll try to answer. Divya Nair, madam. Yes.
Maharaj, there is one question from Sri Lekha who asks, how can we be a part of the cycle but free at the same time?
Could I please see the question directly or there?
Oh,
That would
sure.
be easier for me.
Oh, it's
No, it went to the host of Divya, no? So just copy paste.
How can we be part of this cycle but free at the same time? Well, how can we have the omelette and the egg too? Can you have the egg and the omelette both? You cannot be part of the cycle and free too. This is a contradiction. You cannot be. An incarnation of God can be, because like the spider moving on its web freely, he can, we cannot. Either you are in the cycle or you are outside the cycle. Well, that's what my understanding is. I may be wrong, but that's what I have understood through scriptures and through my acharyas. Yes. Any other question?
There was one question from Ansar Ali.
Ansar Ali.
And
See that it's easy for me to read.
Yes. Unfortunately, Swagatadi, would you mind typing the question to everyone or to Maharaj? Because I'm not
From
able
VSC to everyone. Sir, Swamiji, your presentation is marvelous. Any relationship between illusion and matter? Dear whosoever you are, no, there is no illusion. When we talk about illusion, the problem of the Buddhists, I don't know why Buddhists have this problem with illusion. They see illusion everywhere. We don't have any problem with illusions. Matter is matter till you are in matter. And the beautiful example that Vedanta uses is, till you are in darkness, you cannot see darkness. And if you get light to see darkness, there is no darkness. So darkness can never be seen. When you are trying to understand Maya, while staying in Maya, you cannot know Maya. Because to know Maya, you need knowledge. When you get knowledge, Maya does not exist anymore. So this is the huge contradiction regarding Maya. So Mandukya Karika goes to the extent of telling Maya is that which does not exist. Sacha Mayana Vidyate. That Maya itself does not exist. So what is Maya? It's mind. What is mind? Mind is actually one with Satchidananda, with Atman, with Brahman. But it has deluded itself in believing that the dividing line is true. And once you say that dividing line is true, everything else becomes true. So matter is in reality consciousness. But we see it as matter, we use it as matter, and it will continue as matter till we are in this world. Even Shankaracharya, such a great master of Advaita, when he realized his Advaita and he preached his Advaita, he also felt hunger. He needed food to fill his hunger. Matter will always be there. You just realize that matter does not have an independent reality. It's not illusion. Illusion, the word for illusion is, the example used is Bandhya Putra, the son of a barren woman. Now you can go on talking about the son of a barren woman. You can write a beautiful book on son of a barren woman. But after all, it's an illusion. Matter is not illusion in that sense. Yet, it's not real. So one of the definitions of permanence is that which is deshato, kalato, vastuto va. That which continues to exist in every location, in all the three phases of time, and in every object. which means that permanent is something which was there before this pain was manufactured. And that permanence will continue to be there when this pain is destroyed. What is that? As we mentioned, isness. And it should not be confined only to this pen. It should be there in the microphone too. Now we know it cannot be. It's only the isness, astitva, astitva in Hindi or in Bengali or in Indian languages. This is known as sat. Existence is a pure existence that runs through all the three. It is in every locality. It's throughout the three phases of time, and it is there in all the objects. Yes, from VSC to crunch moments, dear friend, my brother or my sister, I don't know who you are, believe me, even I forget at the crunch moments. Forgetting Vedanta at the crunch moments, well, that is what sadhana is. Sadhana means that. Patanjali's Yoga Sutra says beautifully, Satu, Dirgha Kala Nairantarya Satkara Sevito Dridabhumi. Dridabhumi, you reach that solid ground by practicing it for a very long time with diligence and with due respect. So naturally, this cannot come in a day. You have taken millions of births to confuse yourself to this state. You need some births to get out of it. Why some people call Advaitavadi as Mayavad? I don't know. They must be deluded. I mean, people are there. Like when I travel by trains, sometimes people call us nincompoops. Sometimes they call us worthless. No, I'll tell you a joke. And with that, I'll end. One of our monks, who was a very humorous person, and before becoming monk, he was also a bodybuilder, a highly educated, very talented person. Once, he was traveling through one of these local streets. It was lanes. And there were 3 or 4 young boys, and they started chanting, bald-headed, nara mata, nara, taklu, taklu, taklu. So he just turned around, walked back, went near them, and they got frightened because he was one of those bodybuilders. I went near him, he said, fellow with a hairy head, chulwala. And you know what? Now, if you tell that I am bald-headed, I'll also tell you are air-headed, hairy one. Now, if you say that I am Mayavadi, I'll call you by name. Give you some other name. So what? There is no end to name calling, and this is what plagues. Advaitis never get into name calling. A gentleman will never get into name calling. Well, Advaita is actually Brahmavad. Brahmavad means God alone exists. Now, what name they give us, that's not important. It just shows their shallowness. It just shows their lack of knowledge. Yes, anyone else?
Maharaj, I think that's it for the questions. We should probably wrap up.
So anything from Dr. Arpita Mitra? After all, she was the person who invited me. She caught hold of me and she, etc., etc. And I wanted to get rid of it. I didn't want anything.
Maharaj, that
if
was
not
my
anything,
question.
at least a word of thanks.
No, that was my question, crunch moments.
What was that?
The crunch moment question was from
Oh,
me.
it's a crunch moment. Don't you worry. We are all like that. We tend to fail.
Yeah, but we do, beyond the point, one doesn't like repeating the same mistake again and again. One gets a little fed up.
If you chance to read my book, Carving a Sky, which I'll suggest you to read. In Carving a Sky, I have beautifully, in fact, I had a beautiful insight when I say that when you make a mistake once, it only means that you slipped and you say sorry for it. When you make a mistake a second time, it only means that it is inbuilt in you. It's your nature. And in case you want to get rid of it, you will have to work really hard on it. However, I'm yet to come across a person who has ever succeeded in working upon his weakness and getting out of it. Always focus on your strength. Never look at your weakness, because you can never overcome your weakness, because it is hardwired. You are made that way. There's no way you can get out of it. Focus on your strength. Once you focus on your strength, once you focus on freedom, once you focus on oneness, once you focus on large-heartedness, once you focus on acquiring knowledge, once you get into that mode, all these things become trivial. Who cares? Who cares what Swami Vivekananda ate and what disease Swami Vivekananda had? Who cares if Jesus was crucified or he was slain? It's his message that counts. So always focus on strength. Never look at your weakness. Weakness will always be there. And try working on your weakness. You can never. These self-help books might be talking about, I've never read any one of them. I just heard from here and there. They might be talking about work on your weakness. These management people may be talking about work on your weakness. Take my words. I can vouchsafe anything for that. You can never overcome your weakness because you are hardwired for it. What you can do is you can attain greatness. And in that greatness, part of that weakness will be there. So what? You will remember for your greatness. Swami Vivekananda beautifully says, a tree is known by the best fruit it produces, not by the rotten, worm-eaten fruits. You will never be known for your weaknesses. Critics will talk about your weaknesses, but the society will remember for your greatness. Let us all be great. Thank you so much. And let's end it. It's 1.5 hours.
Maharaj. Yes,
Huh?
yes. Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Yes,
I
Maharaj.
think this
Thank
is a
you
very
so much.
important point. Yes, Sri Lekha will do the
Vote of
vote
thanks.
of thanks. Yes.
Pranam Maharaj.
Yes.
Thank you for the wonderful and enlightened information and anecdotes. And these practical things of life are very important because, that's the thing. Like we think that you being in this order, things are different for you. But somewhere around the line, everybody has to pass through the stages. That's what I have got from you. Thank you very much. And clearing all the confusion. On behalf of the entire VSC group and all those who are attending this session, we would like to thank Swami Samarpanananda ji for enlightening us today with this talk on the practice of Vedanta in everyday life. This has been a unique opportunity for us to hear Swamiji's teaching through you, and we all feel encouraged and inspired. I would like to thank Arpita for inviting Maharajji and organizing the event, Shagadadi for providing this entire technical support and preparing these wonderful print materials and the publicity documentations and the slides, which are beautiful. Thank you, Tanushri, Namrata. Thank you, Tanushri, for the hosting. Namrata, thank you for the chanting. You sing the best, actually. I can't sing. And Divya, thank you for moderating it so wonderfully as usual. And also there's one person we cannot forget, that's Professor Anirban Chakrabarti, who is the person who founded this group and still a support behind us. Finally, thank you everyone being with us and joining us today. We hope to contribute more and engaging and enriching all with more conversations and learnings from the reverend sadhus and different scholars. We look forward to see you for the next time, and I wish you all a happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
Maharaj. Pranam.
Yes, Maharaj. Yes, Maharaj. Pranam, Maharaj. Yes, Maharaj.